everybody, and welcome to another episode of Granting Wisdom. My name is Deidre and Mackenzie, and I will be your host for today. Today, I have with us a lovely young lady here today. I had a pleasure of, just speaking with her for a little bit, and I'm getting to realize that we're a bit similar in person, but I will just allow her to introduce herself and just, tell us who you are.
Okay. Good day, everyone. Welcome, as Deidre said, to another episode of Granting Wisdom. My name is Trae-Ana Wilkins, and it is an absolute pleasure to be here. I'm a first-year journalism major at the University of the West Indies and teen author, among other things.
Wow, isn't that amazing? I mean, she wears many hats, and we'll get into that a little more on in the conversation. But today, Trae-Ana, we are speaking about the 21st century woman.
Yes.
What comes to you when you hear that?
The 21st century woman. The woman who is able to do so much that history limited us to. The 21st century woman is strong, she is fierce, she is resilient, she is flexible. The 21st century woman is incredible.
Wow. Wow, that sounds like a quote, right? Right. All right, so I know you mentioned all those wonderful things, and I would believe that you embody all those, or aspiring to embody all those. Now, here in the 21st century, what has been the hardest thing for you about being the 21st century woman?
Excellent question. Not only for me, but for women in general. Like I said, it has been something that has changed over time. What it is that we are now able to do, who we are now seen as. And there are persons in society who still believe that women should still be seen and not heard, and sometimes even not seen in certain spaces.
Right.
So we still have that challenge of being underestimated, being just a pretty face.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to, switch from the topic a little bit.
Okay.
Because I want the people to, just know a little bit more about who you are.
Okay.
So, behind the cameras, or before we began, we were having a discussion, a very enlightening one, and she would have advised me that she writes, right? So, you want to give us a little sneak peek, or,
No problem. As we were speaking earlier, as I told you, I was mentored, or I'm being mentored as a writer by Miss Crystal Day, and she has developed an amazing platform and network and community of women for us to really be nurtured as young writers. So her last publication was Living a Royal Reality Teen Edition, for which I'm a co-author, in which I spoke about Godfidence.
Yes.
This is confidence that goes beyond just believing that I can do this. This is confidence in saying that I am royalty because I'm a child of the king,
yes,
and I will act accordingly.
Wow, amazing. Amazing. All right. No, you would have advised me as well that you're in your first year,
Yes.
of journalism, which kind of makes us pretty similar because I am also studying media and communications, all right? So, what sparks your interest for that?
It's really my initial interest from just exploring new cultures, bringing things to the public. I love speaking, I love writing. Writing is something absolutely beautiful,
Yes, it is.
So if it is that I can write in such a way to inform and to inspire
Right.
on a large scale for the community, for our country and society, why not journalism?
Okay. All right. Beautiful. Beautifully said. What's one advice, though, you would give to women of today who are struggling to find what they're passionate about, or in their area of interest that they might want to build in?
Well, it really goes back to sitting down and assessing who you are. Because, as I said earlier, were expected to be seen, not heard. You were told this is who you are, this is what you are capable of.
Right.
So if it is that women really sit down and say, okay, I want to figure out who I am. I don't want to be told by anybody, especially not a man, who I am. You know, if we really search ourselves, I believe we will hear that inner voice and find our purpose and passions and really just blaze the trail.
Amazing. All right. What was your upbringing like, though? Like,
That's my upbringing.
what was your background like growing up? Because you seem like a solid woman, a solid young lady, and I love that. You know, that's how we ought to be. So, what was your background like growing up?
That's a lot. So, as you were speaking earlier, I spent a lot of my time in church, especially with my friends at the Pentecostal Gospel Temple on Windward Road. I was also very involved in the performing arts, hence, you know, my involvements. So I was doing dancing, speech and drama, sign language from basic school. Okay. So it really just continued from there. And even though I might not have been able to be as expressive in conversation throughout the years, I found ways to be expressive in the performing arts. So it is safe to say that the performing arts has really been what has nurtured me to be who I am.
Awesome, awesome. So pretty much it's safe to say that we can, you know, pinpoint from the things that, you know, we're attracted to from we're young to know the direction, you know, for passion and purpose.
Yes, that's so true. That's where it is, purpose.
Yes. Because I believe that this is purpose for you in, you know, the line in where you're going, it's purpose.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. You advised me that you're into pageantry. Mm-hmm. And as you can see, the way she sits, the way she stands, the way she speaks, it says it all. So Trae-Ana is actually into pageantry, and we were having a discussion about that, right? She was able to show me a few tricks and tricks on how to pose, which I'll definitely take heed to. Tell us a little bit about that.
About how I got involved in pageantry? Okay. So, all right, let me just say this point because I want the message to be heard. So, coming from in primary school, we had, our teachers had that little special set of students. And if you weren't in that special set, I wasn't in that special set. I was in that set sometimes when my teacher felt like it. But I was not in that special set. And being in an environment like that, it makes you feel less than, you know, it makes you feel invisible. And that's something I spoke about in Living a Royal Reality Teen Edition. So when I stepped, because this is where purpose comes in, when I stepped into my first year at the Convent of Mercy Academy Alpha, I entered the Minimis Alpha competition and won. Wow. And that is where I really came to realize all that I was capable of. Wow. Because my name was being called for almost every single sectional prize. So you're hearing most talented Trae-Ana Wilkins, most creative Trae-Ana Wilkins, best evening wear Trae-Ana Wilkins. You're hearing my name over and over and over again. And even though at that moment I didn't realize, as the years progressed and I grew at Alpha, I came to realize, whoa, I actually have something going on here. Yeah, and that interest made me really do some more research about pageantry and all that it is. And it is really a platform for young women, for women to let their voices be heard. Right,
that's so true. I agree.
And fight for causes that they believe in.
I agree. Powerful. Beautiful. Beautifully said. You mentioned that you went to the Covenant of Mercy Alpha, but I'm going to hint you in another secret about Trae-Ana. Trae-Ana went to 3 high schools. Pretty unusual, right? We normally know persons go to 2 high schools because, you know, lower school, upper school, which is from first form to 5th form,
and then you go to
upper 6 and lower 6, right? So Trae-Ana went to 3 high schools. She went to 2 all-girls school and then 1 co-ed, right?
Yeah.
No, I went to all-girls school, so I have an idea of what it's like. But how was the switch for you at the last part of it to a co-ed? Having to, you know, be around boys, having been around females within high school for such a long time.
You know, I always find that to be such an interesting question, because when I just went to Camperdown, I didn't even think of it as much as there are boys in this environment. When I went to Merle Grove, however, when some of the girls say, "Oh, you're coming from an all-girls school to another all-girls school," like, what?
Unusual, right?
Well, I really didn't see it in that light. I just wanted to go to school, you know?
Right.
So when I made the switch to Camperdown, I actually left my previous school because I felt like I wasn't doing what I really loved. I was just going to school, going to classes, you know, and that wasn't me.
Okay.
So I decided to switch, and that's where I went to Camperdown High School. And speaking of women, you know, dominating in spaces, this was a new environment. So it wasn't even a full year because COVID came, you know, the school year ended. But I actually became student council president 2 months in. This is a new school, a new environment. I was running against a boy, but he was a gentleman. So I became student council president. I became president of the Debates and Literary Society. And let me tell you, when I was running for president of the Debates and Literary Society at Camperdown, I was actually challenged by a young man who was underestimating me. And so this is why it's so important for you to know who you are, know what you're capable of.
Yes.
Right? So, of course, it didn't faze me, but it's safe to say I dominated in that space.
Yes.
So the switch didn't really seem like much to me because I knew that, look, this is what I'm going here for. Right. This is what I'm capable of.
Right.
So the environment or not, I'm going to shine.
Right. And it's safe to say as well, that brings me back to the saying that says, bloom where you're planted.
Indeed.
Beautiful. But what I want to know is that, would you say, if it is that you had started out at a co-ed school, if it would have been any different for you? Do you think your journey of where you're heading right now would have been any different? Would you have been in pageantry? Do you think it would affect you in any way?
You know, that's a really difficult question because I only know what I know.
That's true, but
you know, going back to purpose, you know, if this is what God intended for me, it just had to happen. It just had to happen. So even if I was in a different environment, the journey would have been different. But I am quite sure that the purpose would have been fulfilled.
That's so true. That's so true. Because purpose stands. Purpose stands. Now, as I said, very solid, to be a very solid woman. I really love that about you. And guys, I'm just going to tell you, Trae-Ana is 18 years old. I asked wait, I'm sorry. That's my bad. Obviously her bad. Because I asked her age before we started. She told me she was 18 and then she was like, oh no, I'm 19.
Old age, guys, old age.
But, do you feel, how would I put it? So, do you feel, what is it like being this age, doing so much compared to other young girls your age?
You know,
What's it like for you?
It's really interesting that you asked with that word, you know, comparing to, because, all right, let me give you a little story.
Okay.
So in my last pageant, Mr. and Mrs. Camperdown, I was so ready to answer all the, and that goes back to having a solid thing. You can do this. I was ready for them to ask a question where I could just lavish all my accomplishments, everything that I'm good at, and I put my hand in the bag and I pulled out the question and I looked at it. What is your biggest weakness? Like, are you serious right now? Like, I want to be here throwing you everything that I can do, and you're going to ask me what's my biggest weakness. But I actually highlighted that my biggest weakness at that time was comparison. Because as you said, I am indeed involved in a lot of things. So as such, a lot of things are expected from me. So there's a level of perfectionism that, you feel pressured to always get it perfect.
And I was just about to ask you if you at times feel pressured by, persons that have this high expectation of you and, how you ought to speak, what you ought to be doing.
Yeah. So that's where in perfectionism we have some comparison being thrown in the mix. So I think my response to that question was, yes, my biggest weakness is comparison, but I need to focus on the path that God has ordained for me, and walk on the purpose and on the path that He set out for me.
Wonderful.
So, yeah, we compare ourselves a lot, but at the end of the day, and it goes back to really reflecting and sitting down with yourself, it's really important for us to realize that there is really only one you.
Wow. I love that. And I had a quote that says, be you. Because there is no one else that will be Trae-Ana Wilkins.
Indeed.
There will never be another Trae-Ana Wilkins. There will never be another Deidre Mackenzie. Never. So if we, try to be someone else, we take away the authenticity of who God designed you to be, and then persons might end up missing out on some things because we're all put here for a purpose to fulfill. So beautifully said. What advice, though, being that we're on the topic of comparison, what advice would you give to a young lady who is struggling with social comparison? Because believe it or not, this is a big thing. A lot of us struggle with social comparison, and it tends to drive fear into us at times. We feel intimidated and we belittle ourselves. So what advice would you give to a young lady who is struggling with social comparison?
Okay, so first of all, know that you will not be everything. It is so important for us to understand that there are certain things that are designed for us. We can't be watching other persons because, as we have been saying, everybody's on their own path, their own journey. And ignore other persons, everything, and just take some time. What am I good at?
Right.
As we said, searching for your passions. Why am I here? Getting to be confident in you so that you don't feel intimidated by somebody else's confidence.
That's a big thing. But you touched on the passion side of it. There are persons that are good at a lot of things, and then they struggle to find, what should I really major in?
Yeah. Felt.
Listen, I've been there because I feel like I'm a Jane of many trades. So, what's your best advice? And I'm asking for a lot of advices today. What's your best advice for someone in that position with a lot of, that wears many hats, can do so many things? What's your advice for them?
That is so cool, because whatever I am about to say is advice for myself. I would say to that person, it's not impossible to pursue all your passions, especially if they're linked. Because I have a journal right now with a really long list of things that I want to accomplish in life, but I believe that it can be done. It comes with planning in such a way that you integrate all these passions. You know, we're not going to say, all right, I want to do this, and it's all the way on this spectrum, and then we have something else all the way over here. So we want to find that middle ground.
The middle ground, right, for a balance.
Yeah.
Right.
And in terms of, you know, being Jane of many trades, the subject of that statement is Jane. So you need to find out what it is that you are going to do.
Wow. I've never heard anyone put it in a better way. That's beautifully said, and I totally agree with you. Okay, Trae-Ana, so Trae-Ana is a very unusual name. I want you to tell me a little bit about your name, but I also want you to share on the fact of women of the 21st century having a voice in this time. How important is that?
You know, it's actually interesting that you fuse those questions together, because my name is very meaningful to me. That's why I try and ensure that persons have my name spelled correctly.
Wow.
So my name is Trae-Ana Wilkins again. I was born a twin, and my twin brother was diagnosed with cerebral palsy, which is a motor disability. So he died in 2014. However, my years with him really pushes me to be an advocate for persons with disabilities, especially children.
Yes.
And then it all goes back to purpose, because
yes, that's what I'm just saying.
He taught me so much. Even though he couldn't speak, he told me so much. You see me? Wow.
That's okay. We're keeping it natural. We're keeping it real. That's what we do here on Granting Wisdom. We keep it real, you guys. So that's
okay.
fine.
Let me get back. So he taught me so much, even though he wasn't able to speak.
Yes.
He taught me how to love in such a strong way, to love all people,
yes.
and I mean all people. So that is something that I am seeking to advocate for, especially with my pageantry platform. So I'm not looking to go into pageantry for the sake of saying, okay, this is the queen. No. I want to be that voice for persons with disabilities. I want to be that voice for persons to understand that there is beauty in your individuality.
Wow.
No matter what anybody else says, no matter how anybody else might perceive you, you know, there is beauty in your individuality. And then this is why it's so important for women to have a voice.
Yes.
Because your purpose, your passion, your experiences, your pain, your joys, nobody else can share it the way you can.
That's so true.
And that is why, that is really why things happen.
Yes.
Right? So don't be afraid to speak up. Don't be afraid to speak up.
Don't be afraid to speak up. That's something that everyone, you know, can definitely take away from this interview so far. Don't be afraid to speak up. You know, that's just a reminder to us ladies out there, that you have a voice, and you have a voice for a reason, and it ought to be heard. Don't be afraid to speak up. I'm going to steal that one.
No problem.
All right. Now, many times you hear conversations about purpose and passion and the importance of them, and which one overweighs which one. Don't tell me that this one is a.
No, that's
okay.
fine. You know, as you started the question, or the statement rather, a while ago, I remember the scripture that says, your gift will make room for you and place you before great men, you know. So your passions are something that is placed within you for your purpose. So God already makes it in such a way where, look, this is it.
Yeah.
Perfect combination. So I wouldn't say any part outweighs each other. Your passion, your purpose, and your passion just fuel each other.
Right. So they're linked, guys.
Yes.
And once you know what your passion is, then it's a sense of direction to guide you.
Yeah, and even if you don't know, you see, this is why it's so important to have those two linked. As I said earlier, when there is a purpose, it just has to happen.
Has to happen.
So you see, when you're on that path of purpose, you're just going to see your passions overflowing.
So far, what has been the most impactful lesson you have learned thus far as a woman?
I think that would be the importance of sisterhood.
Yes.
As we were talking about Crystal Day earlier, you know, she has created a community of strong women around her. She has done the same thing for a group of us across the world, because we have girls. So we have an Empowering Girls Club.
Okay.
That is a global initiative, and we have been interacting with girls all over the world. We have girls from Nigeria in that group.
Wow.
We have a lot of girls from Trinidad in that group. And she has really been, you know, reflecting the importance of sisterhood on us. But where I found it impactful on a personal level was when I actually went to Merle Grove. So you see, where I went to 3 high schools, all of them played a role.
Yes.
All of them had their purpose. So when I went to Merle Grove High School, though I was coming from a school where I was known by almost everybody in the school, when I went to Merle Grove, I found a little group of sisters.
Right.
And they really showed me what friendship was. I remember one day I was coming from class, and this was like 6-7 o'clock in the night, and I was on the bus and my phone rang. Now normally I don't take calls, but my phone rang. And I was like, yes. And my friend was on the other line, and she said, "Are you home?" I said, "No, I'm still on my way home." She said, "Okay, I'm just checking if you're safe.
Wow.
Just hurry up and get home." And she ended the call. I said, "Okay." She ended the call. She called me back. Regina says to stay safe also. And honestly, when I was going all the way home, you know, while I was home, I was like, whoa. This is what it feels like to have, you know, that strength and support,
yes,
and care around you.
Yes.
So that system and that bond that I formed with those girls at Merle Grove really pushed for me to see the importance of sisterhood.
Yes, and that does a lot for the mind. That does a lot for the mind. You know, sometimes we're sick, and just compassion, you know, encouraging words,
Yeah.
it helps. It goes a far way, and I'm really happy you bring that point up.
And then, you know, I think comparison is something that a lot of women struggle with, and this is why sisterhood is so important,
yes,
right? Because you have a set of women uplifting each other instead of trying to tear down each other.
Yes.
So that is why sisterhood is really as important
Yes,
as
it
it is.
is. Yes, it is. How do you stay this empowered? How do you stay solid? How do you maintain
stay
all of
solid?
this? How do you maintain Trae-Ana?
That's an interesting question. My days are never really the same.
Well,
Usually all over the place, right? And then what keeps me grounded, it goes back to that support system, but it also goes back to my why. Why am I here?
yes.
Why am I doing all that I'm doing, right? So granted, there are times when, you know, you feel like I'm just tired,
Yes.
you know, I don't feel like doing anything, but then I have a set of people who make me feel like, look, you can do anything in this world, and I will stand right behind you and cheer you on, you know. And also, as I said, there are just certain things that I want to change in this world.
Yes.
I want to create an inclusive Jamaica.
Wow.
I want to create a world that, if it is that just a small amount of persons with disabilities are included on a great scale, I think I have done my part.
And you will. You definitely will. Once you know, just keep focused, you definitely will. As you mentioned yourself, purpose cannot change.
Indeed.
So you definitely will. I'm believing you will. And I will be there when you do.
Of course.
All right. Let's just hear 5 words that describe who Trae-Ana is. Well, maybe our viewers would be able, or would have been able to pinpoint the things thus far. I mean, this is a refreshing interview we're bringing to you, and you cannot find it anywhere else but here on Granting Wisdom. Let me just see. But what are 5 words? What are the 5 best words that you use to describe Trae-Ana?
Okay, let's see. Trae-Ana is strong.
Strong.
Trae-Ana is full of love. Well, that's not a word, but we're going to we're going to keep it that way. That's my word. The Trae-Ana is full of love. Trae-Ana is confident. No, Trae-Ana is Godfident.
Woo! Get it right, guys.
Get it right.
Confidence.
Trae-Ana is passionate. Trae-Ana is creative.
And I think that pretty much incorporates all that we have discussed so far, all that she is. That was beautifully said. Is there any last words that you want to share? Is there anything that's resting on your heart that you want to share with maybe another woman or another young person out there? Because I'm sure there are males, watching, and they're inspired by you as well. So, is there any last words you're wanting to share with them?
All right, let me choose. Let me choose one that's going through my head right now. Let's say, be so full of love. Love for yourself, love for the persons around you, love for people, that you don't accept any projection of hate.
Wow. Can you say that again? I think someone may have missed that, so I just want you to, run that by them again.
No problem. Be so full of love that you don't accept any projection of hate.
Wow. Okay, Trae-Ana, it has been a beautiful interview with you. It was a pleasure, speaking with you, having to know about you. But I'm sure the persons that are watching will love to know, more about you. They may want to stay connected with you. So tell us, how can they find you?
Well, the best place to find me would be on Instagram at Trae_Ana. That's TRAE_ANA.
All right, so ensure guys you go over to her page to follow her content and see what she's about. As she said, she'll be having a book soon, so you may want to look out for that. All right, so that's a wrap. My name is Deidre Mackenzie. Once more, you can head over to my Instagram and follow me at Day_Empowers. That's DEI_EMPOWERS. Alright, make sure also you head over to SG Productions Instagram page. You can follow them at _SG Productions. They're the ones behind the camera. They're the ones behind all of this that's allowing you to see all of what's happening. It was my pleasure hosting today. Make sure you like, comment, share with a friend, and be sure to subscribe. This was Granting Wisdom.